is a Hawaii connection in a little place called Salt Springs Island.
This is Salt Spring Island, one of the few places in North America that has such a strong history of Hawaiian heritage. These are the southern Gulf Islands off the coast of Vancouver Island, home to a colony of native Hawaiians who settled here in the 1800s. We flew into the largest one, Salt Spring Island, by float plane, coming in at Kanaka Wharf. You can see the island's Hawaiian settlers left a strong mark here. Author Tom Koppel explains why they ever left Hawaii.
Most of them, almost without exception, came originally with the Hudson's Bay Company to the northwest coast.
The Hudson's Bay Company is today a department store, but back then was a fur trader.
They'd sign on for 3 years at a time, and then they could go home, or they could sign up again. And in many cases, they met and married native women.
The region's temperate climate made the transition easy.
The Hawaiians who settled here were not necessarily interested in being farmers, although a few of them grew apple trees. They settled on the shoreline for the most part, and they settled on one southern point of Salt Spring, Isabella Point, and on the other called Beaver Point. They had schools at both places where their children went.
At its peak in the 1890s, there were 24 Hawaiian families, an estimated 150 to 200 people. So ingrained in the community, one Hawaiian even made it onto a $2 bill.
But there's so few Hawaiians here.
Natasha Johnson is one of only a few dozen people left who identify themselves as Hawaiian descendants, with a sense of culture thinning through the generations. Her Hawaiian Tahitian grandmother told her little about Hawaiian customs.
Just in stories, and we would have luau's, family luau's.
10 years ago, she enrolled in hula lessons to learn more.
It's more personal belonging to try and attach myself to part of my roots.
Many Hawaiians married American Indians, creating a mixed race locally referred to as Kanaka. Natasha believes today those offspring want to learn more about their Polynesian heritage. On Salt Spring Island, Diane Ko, News 8.
To order Tom Koppel's book,
Diana Ko's turn. She left our warm paradise for Vancouver and found a water sport native to Hawaii thriving in Canada's cooler waters.
I'm Diane Ko, and we are paddling on Burrard Inlet. We may be thousands of miles from Hawaii, but we found a team that practices a native Hawaiian sport.
The sign is a giveaway. The team is Canadian, but the sport is all Hawaiian. And every week, rain or shine, the members of Jericho Outrigger Canoe Club come to the waters of Burrard Inlet to practice.
You kind of just know that you need a base to get ready for the season. So that's your motivation, because if you know that if you start paddling beginning of the summer that you're going to hurt when it comes to race time.
Race time? That's right. They train for the mother of all outrigger races, the Molokai Hoi.
All the way from Canada, put your hands together for Team Jericho Canada.
Here they are coming in for a 6th place finish in the 2002 race.
Wow. Awesome.
Awesome.
This is their 9th year and their best time yet. It's tough for them because they don't train under these conditions.
Just the heat and trying to figure out the ocean that we never race in. You know, we come here once a year and we have to learn the ocean as quickly as we can.
And look at Paul's hands.
Being a new blade just wrecked my hands.
Stuck it out though. They stuck it out.
Small price to pay for such a rewarding race. Now they're back in Canada. The memories of the Molokai Hoi still fresh and inspirational.
It's kind of a good way to finish off the season. You go to Hawaii and compete against, the best teams in the world.
And the cycle of training starts over again.
Jericho is one of 3 clubs that practices outrigger canoe paddling in Vancouver. Freezing on Burrard Inlet, Diane Ko, News 8.
continues her trip with a look at Vancouver's Chinatown.
This Chinatown is the 3rd largest in North America and the oldest on the continent. Come with us to find out why hundreds of thousands of people pass through these streets every year. Drive down Pender Street through the Millennium Gate and you're in Vancouver's Chinatown. The Chinese make up 1/4 of Vancouver's population, second only to Caucasians, with a history that goes back to 1858. They came with the gold rush, but stayed in the new frontier to work in laundries, restaurants, and farms. This wall painting records the historical highlights of the Chinese in Canada, from the struggles to settlement to integration. It's a point of pride for the Chinese Cultural Center of Greater Vancouver.
The first time they can see the whole history of our Chinatown.
Here's a historical oddity that's even made it into the Guinness Book of World Records and Ripley's Believe It or Not. The Sam Key Building, the world's narrowest building at 5 feet 10 inches.
It's quite compact though.
The Jack Chow Insurance Company owns it now, but underneath there's a secret tunnel that once contained baths, toilets, and barber chairs, the remains of hidden businesses that catered to neighborhood residents. The Sun Yat-sen Garden opened in 1986, but it was built in 1492 as a private Taoist garden in China during the Ming Dynasty. Every piece of the garden, from the hand-fired roof tiles to the courtyard stones, was shipped over in 950 crates. It was named in honor of the first president of the Republic of China, Sun Yat-sen, who spent time in Vancouver building political support.
He came here and gave a speech and asked all the Chinese people here and donate money for revolutions.
This is the first classical Chinese garden created outside of China, a $5.3 million exotic paradise. This garden was built to serve as a bridge between Canada and China, a place where East really meets West, and one of the many sights to see here in Vancouver's Chinatown. Reporting from British Columbia, Diane, News 8.
With a Canadian hula halau.
I'm in Paul Lotta's dance studio. He runs one of 3 hula halau in the greater Vancouver area, and these girls are some of his 500 students.
And then your first position to the audience, that's the first time you get to look at the audience, drift down and then take it over.
32 years and counting. That's how long Paul Lotta has been bringing hula and other Polynesian dances to the people of Vancouver.
Push the water, push, push, push.
He spent part of his childhood in Hawaii and loved the sense of ohana a hula halau provides.
So it wasn't so much the place, it was definitely that feeling that when I came to Canada was not here.
So he created it by opening his own dance company, and with it, a little piece of aloha. Or, as he corrects me,
oh, a lot of aloha here. Oh, a lot.
Lotta says hula is gaining popularity in mainstream Vancouver.
There's no such thing as I'm Canadian. Every one of these girls is at least 4 or 5 things, like a Hawaiian.
Some of his students are part Hawaiian, seeking a link to their heritage.
Vancouver is very diverse, and I think everybody's really getting into their own roots, which is good, because as we get more blended and mixed up, we sometimes lose a little bit of our background.
It teaches me and expresses through the music and lyrics and dance about the Hawaiian culture.
Others just enjoy learning the art and spreading the aloha in Canada.
That's all.
Paul and his girls perform every year in Hawaii for Outrigger Ohana Hotels and Germain's Luau. Reporting from Greater Vancouver, Diane.
Hey, no, no!